And then the last thing he said was, "Oh, don't read the comments." And when it's published. And
Did
I
you read the
said,
comments?
"Oh my God, every single one." There were like almost 350 comments. People are so mean. Like,
People
I mean,
love that column. I can see
and
people
there,
getting
like,
really
honestly,
passionate.
there were some really nice comments. I had people writing me really nice letters, basically about like how they connected to this material and how it inspired them to keep dating and this, that, and the other. But then I had some people who were just so mean. Like, I had people having conversations with each other in the comments, like, "This sucks. I could have written this so much better." And then, like, the next person down, like, "Laugh out loud. I know. I should rewrite this." And then people started accusing me of making it up. Like, "She's full of, shit. Like, this never happened." And I'm like, how are people telling me that my own life didn't happen?
A cold open is lines we wish we wrote or whatever we wish we wrote because we thought that was appropriate for imposter syndrome. I feel like we get so much in our head about opening lines that you're just like, why? When people put it so simply, it's just like, it's that easy. Why does it seem so easy? But it's not.
So Charlene Harris, this is her first one, Dead Until Dark. But I wish I had written this opening line because I was gripped right away. So it says, "I'd been waiting for the vampire for years when he walked into the bar. And I just immediately wanted to know what's going to happen here."
Is that the book that inspired
True
True
Blood.
Blood? Oh, love True Blood.
I didn't know
Not read
that.
these? Have you not read this series?
No.
Oh, you need to read these. They're
Okay, deal. Done.
so I highly recommend.
Adding that to my TBR for 2026.
Yes, definitely do.
Yeah, that opening
Love
was
that.
crazy. Jenna, what do you got? What line do you wish you had written?
This is legit my favorite romantasy book of all time. This entire thing, you've probably like heard me like on previous episodes like talking about how much I love Quicksilver, but yes, it's just so good. There's really no need for all of this violence. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Is
It's
that the
similar
line?
though, where
Yeah, that's the line.
it's similar where it's simple, but yet now you want to know.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just hits. And then it's like sometimes can be the most simplest. It's funny that you guys say that because mine's very similar. It's from Eat, Pray, Love. And it's a moment where she like decides like that moment where she decides she's going to leave her husband. And the line is literally just, the line is, "I prayed, comma, like, comma, to God."
God, I love that one.
Like,
Good one.
I prayed, like, to God.
That's really good.
I remember reading that and just having that thought, like, not even that I wished I wrote this, but I want to write like this. Like, I want to write the way you can hear her talking. And it doesn't have to be this poetic, like, superstar story but it's just like, I'm talking to my friends and that's you. And I'm telling you this story. And that's what inspired me to want to write like that.
I feel like I tend to write conversationally. So I gravitate towards reading things in a similar style. Like, I like it when the author, it feels like they're talking to me, like you said.
Yeah. And
It's easier to access.
it is. It's so
Yeah.
access and like stories like that. And I think I wrote a travel story too. I know your book, which we'll chat about in a second, is also a travel story. And it's so I know that in Big Magic, she did say that part of her process is recording herself telling the story to her friends. And you can really hear that in lines like that.
Right.
And when they say voice and they reference like a writer's voice or this is very voicey, and we don't ever know what that really means.
Feels like such an insult when somebody says they don't like your voice.
Oh, it's like a punch to the gut. They're like, I don't.
It really is, because you think, what can I do about that? It's my voice. That's how I write. That's how I talk. Like, that means you just don't like me.
It feels very personal. I totally agree.
They're like, Okay, sorry, I'll go away now.
That is the perfect segue to chat about what today's episode is about, because it's about showing up even when we're convinced everyone else has it way more together and does this way better and is better at marketing and looks cooler on social media and has more book sales and has a prettier cover. It is the dreaded imposter syndrome. Today's guest is Lindsey Goldstein. We are so excited to have you. Lindsey juggles writing, parenthood, a part-time job as a physical therapist. She's published essays about love and parenting in the New York Times Modern Love column. Come on. I want to hear about that. Sunlight Press and the Chicago Story Press. Gap Year is her novel, and that debuts February 3rd. When your main character goes to Ecuador. You went to Ecuador. This is all coming from a real story.
Yes, a lot of people ask me, oh, is this autobiographical? No. However, yes, I did spend a year and then subsequently 2 summers in Ecuador. So though I haven't been there in a number of years, I am very familiar with the country, the culture. I speak Spanish. I still have friends that live there, namely my host family. But I was just really missing Ecuador during COVID. And so I started writing this story and I thought, well, I can set it in Ecuador. And I did do a lot of research to make sure I was up to date because I hadn't been there in a number of years. But I hope that when people read this, that they feel inspired to maybe take a trip there.
That's super cool. But were you always like, I'm going to sit down and write a book? Or was it the experience that was like, writing a book is how I want to digest this experience?
So I have always written, I guess I would say. I mean, let's go back. So my oldest sister, is the writer in the family. So I never thought I could compete with that, but I've always journaled, kept a diary, things like that. And then in college, I used to just kind of gaze at the creative writing classes and think, gee, I could apply. But then I always thought, no, I'll never get in. So there's no point.
Oh.
I know. It's really sad. That's why you should live life backwards. But anyway, I then went on to eventually work in the film industry.
I'm fascinated by this part of the story.
I developed ideas with writers because I work for a producer. That was ultimately where I thought I wanted to go. And part of me thought, when they would then submit a script to me, like, I could maybe write this or try my hand at writing it. And through that editing process, I was putting more and more of my input into it. And so I did ultimately wind up writing a couple screenplays with a friend who was also a writer. And
Like, no big deal.
so years later, I still had this niggling feeling that I wanted to write something. And so when I was in my late 30s, I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. Like, yes, my sister is the writer in the family, but I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody reads it. Nobody wants to read it. They read it and they tell me it sucks. Like, that's the worst that can happen. And I can deal with that. I dealt with a lot of rejection working in the film industry and kind of thickened my skin a little bit. That was when I started writing essays because I thought, well, I'll start with something small and see what happens. So I started submitting essays and started getting some publications interested in publishing those and wanted to pay me, which I was like, seriously? Like, you want to pay me for something I've written? And the New York Times thing was, I had been looking more and more into, well, where do you submit personal essays? Because that was typically what I was writing. So I, on a whim, submitted to the New York Times and I didn't hear anything for like a week. And then I just got this email and all it said was, I like this. And I thought, okay. But he didn't say like, I'm going to publish it or anything. And then I think he wrote like, let's talk. And I thought, I have no idea what that means, but yeah, of course, I'll get on the phone and talk to you. So we get on the phone and we chat for like an hour. And he basically was just talking, like he wanted to verify the details of the essay and make sure that I didn't make it up. And, then he wanted to check, like, if I were to contact because I wrote it about my husband. He's like, if I were to contact him, would he be okay with me publishing this? And I said, I mean, he kind of has no choice. Like, Like, you're offering to publish my essay in the New York Times? Like, yeah, he can't say no. Um, so I said, yeah. So he's like, okay, well, this will run on this date. And then the last thing he said was, oh, don't read the comments and when it's published. And
Did
I
you read the
said,
comments?
oh my God, every single one. There were like almost 350 comments. People are so mean. Like,
People
I
love
mean,
that column. I can see
and
people
there,
getting
like,
really
honestly,
passionate.
there were some really nice comments, like really nice. And then there were people that email, like, so they would email the New York Times and the New York Times would forward them to me. And I had people writing me really nice letters, basically about like how they connected to this material and how it inspired them to keep dating and this, that, and the other. But then I had some people who were just so mean. Like, I had people having conversations with each other in the comments, like, this sucks. I could have written this so much better. And then, like, the next person down, like, laugh out loud. I know I should rewrite this. And then people started accusing me of making it up. Like, she's full of, shit. Like, this never happened. And I'm like, how are people telling me that my own life didn't happen? But anyway, I didn't listen to Daniel, the editor. I should have, but even now, like, I started getting early reviews on Gap Year and I can't help myself.
We've been to workshops with authors that say like they have other people read their comments or like they can't. Do you feel like it really gets in your head and it makes that kind of my writing's trashed or I don't belong in this room carousel of fun worse or are you able to kind of like shut that out?
So, no, I can't shut it out. Not yet. I haven't gotten to that point. I mean, if somebody has something that I think is not productive to say, I'll just put it that way. Um, I perseverate about it probably for a few days. I might even lie awake at night thinking about it.
Yeah.
No, never.
So yeah, that happens. Like, one woman, she wrote this really nice review. Like, this is someone who got it off of NetGalley or something. And she wrote a really nice review of how much she liked it, that she finished the book in 2 days, that it was fast paced, this, that, and the other. And then she's like, 3 stars. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Why did you give me 3 stars? Like, this is going to lower my rating. Like, you didn't have anything negative to say, yet 3 stars. And I'm like, I will get over it and I will stop. Maybe, probably not. But that's where we're at.
I feel like I would be because even if we get like a snarky comment on like social media or something, I will spend so much time thinking about the perfect comeback.
Response. Yeah, like I'll text you, Kate, and be like, "This is what I want to say," and then I'm like, "No, I'll say something nicer."
Yeah, you can't say anything.
Which is so dumb, and we should just not do that. But for something as personal as writing and something as personal as like telling a story that you connect with in that way, that even if it's fiction, that you connect with this place and people and maybe the things that happen in the book, but like that just to have negative comments, I feel like would be really difficult to not have that get to you. Do you feel like that stuff is affecting how you write the next book? Or like do you have that in your
Well,
mind?
yes, definitely. So, I mean, like, a couple people wrote really nice reviews thus far, and then they referenced that they wanted, they did say, can't wait to read her next book. We hope she goes a little deeper. And I think that is a flaw in my writing. Like, I can definitely address, and I am. I actually listened to one of your other episodes on interiority. I'm not the most emotional person. And I know, Jenna, that you said you have big emotions. But anyhow,
It's fine.
I'm like pretty even. I mean, that doesn't mean that I am in my head, but what I convey. And so it's a struggle for me to really go deeply into emotions. And I'm really trying to make that happen and address that interiority with my characters and what they're feeling. And like, how will this make them feel that this horrific thing happened or this wonderful thing happened? So I am paying attention to those types of comments because I think I agree with them. And I think that's the bottom line is you have to take the criticism that you get with a grain of salt, but also if you agree with it or you hear it multiple times, then I think you need to pay attention to it. If it's just
Absolutely.
throwaway, trashy comment, like, I didn't like the color of her hair, whatever. Like, okay, well, move on. Then you go and you read something else that someone else wrote and they did a really good job of it. And you think, why can't I do that?
Mm-hmm.
I need to strive to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing is like reading other people's work and just believing that like you don't belong in the same room or the same category as those people. But there are definitely times where, and I think even for you too, Jonna, like you guys are similar in that you weren't growing up thinking I want to be a writer or like I
No.
where I'm headed, which I feel like I grew up thinking I'm going to be a writer, or like I grew up knowing that one day I was going to write a book, or my whole life, and then like went and got an MFA. And so like there has been a lot of times, and so whoever's listening, where do you fall on that spectrum? Because there's been a lot of times where those ups and downs have been really high and then like really low, because then you get your MFA and you're like I know what I'm doing, girl, and then you get somebody who really knows what they're doing, and then you're like I know nothing about anything, or you get that feedback from an editor, or you get that feedback from a beta reader, whoever it is, an agent, query letter. And sometimes it's like, I'm the best writer that's ever existed. And then you read a novel by Ann Patchett and you're like, I have zero talent and will never, Anyway, it's like I said, a carousel of fun that we constantly go through.
Yes.
That's funny that you mentioned that because so I got a graphic design degree back in the day, and I was a designer for many, many years, slash, I guess I still am, but that's neither here nor there. But in college, and in like my first like couple years of like having a job in design, it was you essentially like get the shit beat out of you mentally. Of just like you would still get an A on a project if you put in like the required amount of effort and intent and everything. But if the professor made you cry, like, they're kind of doing their job because it's like you had to develop like that thick skin of being able to hear what they're actually telling you and not just feeling the emotions like in here and like turning your ears off. So when I like started to go through like feedback on my book or like started to like give it to like friends to read or everything like that was though like I didn't have like I guess the credentials that like you have, Kate. I like whenever they would give me feedback, it would still feel like I was doing my design job. It still felt like I was getting like critique and I could filter through it. But it's not even when I'm getting feedback that's like the hardest part. It's when I'm actually writing it, doing the work of writing it that is like the mental game for me. When I'm like getting feedback from people, I just like put on like my big girl panties and I do the thing. But when I don't know, it's like I wonder if everyone has like a different point in their writing or like creativity process where they feel the most vulnerable and where like they feel like their mental state is like at the weakest where they let those like intrusive thoughts come in because like for me like that's always in writing and it's rarely in feedback.
For me, it's when I've written something and I've just given it to somebody to read, and then I don't hear feedback right away. Let's say, like,
You're
a
like
few
then it
days go
starts to
by,
percolate in.
or a week goes, and I'm like, "Oh, they hate it," and they just don't know how to tell me. And then I go in this downward spiral of how much I must suck that they can't face me to tell me
Really?
how bad it is. Yes.
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
I feel like also my question too would be, since you are on the other side of writing your debut novel, having it come out, that we have all these other jobs now as authors. Like we're book marketers, we are social media creators, we are designers now, or trying to be. So like at some point it does like snowball, right? And does it keep snowballing even on the other side because of all of these other things that you're like, can I do this the same way. I mean, I have that issue just not even being published yet, but like looking at other people's social media and stuff. It seems like everybody else is doing it so well or on this level.
So I definitely feel like I am not doing it nearly as well as most people on social media. But it's funny because then I will, like, I just spoke to one of my best friends from college last night, and she said, I feel like I've been seeing you every day on social
Oh,
media. And she's like, you're doing such a good job. And I'm like, oh my God, I suck. I said, you should see what all these other writers are doing. They're making these amazing reels and they follow the trend on Instagram and then they create their own. And like my daughter is she's my worst critic. And she will look at my phone and be like, Mom, you need to let me do your Canva for you. You're so bad at it. Like, this looks so amateur and so bad. And I'm like, okay, well, do it for me then, or like if I haven't made many reels of just me as a talking head because it embarrasses me and other people do it so well. And I'm like, and my publisher keeps telling me, you've got to do more reels, like let people get to know you. And I can't put my face there.
Something I'm super uncomfortable with too. But I will say that when we started messaging back and forth, I knew who you were because I think I follow you on my author account as well. But like when I saw the cover of your book, I was like, oh, I know her. I've seen this cover. So like it's definitely out there for sure. I definitely knew the cover of your book as soon as I looked at your profile. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this cover a million times.
Okay, good. I'm
Yeah, so
doing
I mean,
something
it's
right
out there,
then.
but and that's the thing is like we are comparing ourselves to all these people. Definitely my first reel, I sent it to of just me talking. I hated myself. I sent it to like 10 people and I was like, just tell me this is okay to post in public. Like it was like a 5-day journey of just like, and my husband was like, just post it. I love, Jenna, how you brought up that even in other mediums you experience this, and it doesn't even just writing, I think, is a creative and very personal thing. So it can feel harder to deal with the ups and downs of imposter syndrome. But what are some tools that we can or that we do use to get over these fears? Because clearly we are all doing the thing on Instagram and social media. We are here doing a podcast. So even though we are writing the books, we are publishing the books, there are ways that we move past this and we don't let it paralyze us.
I think it goes back to that, so what's the worst that happens? Somebody says something unkind about you. The writers community has been overall so supportive and amazing, and there's so many of us now who are writing and trying this and doing it, and we're all doing the things that I think that is what has pushed me past this feeling of I'm not a real writer, because those people treat me like I am. So
right.
to start believing it.
I absolutely love how there's so, like you said, Lindsay, there's so many of us now that are writing. And I
Mhm.
think not, maybe it's like like more percentage wise of those that aren't, but I think it also shows that us as writers and especially female writers, like we have so much to say and
Mhm.
everyone is feeling vulnerable. So we're all being just really kind to one another. I'm like, this is how it should be across the board.
Thinking of it as community over competition, because I've never once felt with any other female writers that this was a competition ever. And I think that's what's like the best part of the community as well. One day I had this conversation with my husband and he was just like, look, if you want your work to be seen, you have to be willing to be seen. And if you want to put your work out there, you have to put yourself out there. And I was just like, you're right. I'm going to have to fake it so hard until I make it. And I am just going to act on wherever that I am an author and that I have a novel that I've written. Like I am just going to fake it as hard as I can until I make it. And
Way to go, John.
I think he's a performer. But I think that has been like, for me, the best thing is just like, screw it. This is who I am. And it almost like manifestation. Like maybe one day if I just like put the energy into the world, then that's what will come out of it. But just faking it until you feel like,
With faking it comes acknowledging your feeling with it.
Yeah.
Because like there's no amount of like positive quotes out there that can get me to truly just fake things. Like I need to and like shove all the things down. Like I need to bring it up. Be like, this is how I feel. This is how it's like actually coming out. And that's generally like avoidance was like number one. And then it's like, okay, if I'm feeling that way, then I'm going to do this to not feel that way anymore. And it's not like this fake confidence. It's actually just saying, I'm going to be the thing I want to be right now.
Be the thing you want to be. Yeah, like dressed for the
Job you want.
job you want. Like,
And that's
yeah,
it. I mean, I was just going to say for the longest time, I mean, I've been writing for years and I've never said to someone, I'm a writer. You know, people ask, what do you do? And I say, I'm a physical therapist. I just said it the other day. My daughter was she's like, and you're a writer. Mom, you have
like physically have the book.
And I said, oh, right. Yes.
That's why I love doing this podcast and having people on like Lindsey, because like it's always so nice to like have this conversation out loud and know that like we are all in the same boat. And going back to the faking it till you making it, it's like yeah, this is a way, like this podcast is a way for us to bring people on and have these candid conversations ourselves that are saying like, yeah, I'm like presenting at like this, but it's not inauthentic. Like this is who I am and this is who I'm trying to be, trying to do these things I want to do, and that like we're all not alone in that together, even though it feels very isolating a lot of the time.
I think everyone has these moments and it is nice to have some camaraderie. Yeah, you sit alone most of the time doubting or writing something one day. And I mean, you read this every day on threads, on Instagram, like I wrote this day and I thought I am the best writer in the world. And then I read it the next day and I thought, oh my God, this is the worst writing I've ever seen. So everyone feels that way.
Yep.
And it's great.
We're so happy that you joined us for this conversation, Lindsey, especially because, you know, me and Kate were on the pre-published path, and you have done the thing. You have a physical stack of 80 books in your house.
I do. And more to come.
And your book comes out February 3rd. And where can we get the book? Because I know it's going to be on a lot of people's lists for next year.
Pretty much anywhere books are sold. Amazon, you can always have any bookstore order it through Ingram. So anywhere you want to buy a book, you can buy my book.
As soon as February 3rd hits, we will have copies of Lindsey's book to give away. Definitely. So
thank you so much, both of you. I've loved talking to you and I love relating to your stories and knowing that we all are in the same boat with different paddles.
Yes.